I'm very glad to introduce Bill Combs. He's the first speaker. He's our friends from Penske, and this will be our first session. So you have the first 50 minutes floor, man.
All right.
Enjoy.
Thanks, Eric. Good morning. It's an hour-long session, but I do not have an hour's worth of slides, so definitely hit me up with questions when it comes time, and I look forward to that part of every speaking engagement. So I'm Bill Combs. I'm the Director of Connected Fleet for Penske Transportation Solutions, which is an umbrella over basically all of the Penske truck businesses. So we have truck rental, truck leasing, Penske Logistics, EPS Transportation, and some other trucking-related businesses that all fall under this Penske Transportation Solutions umbrella. And I want to take you through a lot of kind of our journey with connectivity and how Geotab's been a big part of that from the very beginning and even before. But before I even get off this slide, I was kind of prepping this morning, and I checked out this Geotab globe, and I finally, for the first time, read the words that were around it, and I thought it was fitting to kind of that it fits exactly with a lot of what I'll be talking about and the reasons Penske's here, and I think Geotab Connect exists. So this network with customers and partners along the right side, that's everyone here in this room. I'm sure we have customers that rent and lease trucks from us in here. We have our Assured Telematics, our reseller in the room, who's been huge support, and we look forward to a lot of the partnerships we can build with the ecosystem and beyond. And then connect to data. It's kind of the bread and butter of what our connected vehicle program is, and it's connecting to data, in this case from Geotab, but making sure that we can get data and into our systems to help our customers leverage the systems they're using on their trucks every day even better. And then this expandable platform. The fact that Geotab's expandable platform meshes with our expandable platform, I think is a really nice way to tie this all together and what I'll be going through today. So with that, I want to start by talking about Penske and kind of the initial journey we went on to figure out what we should be doing in regards to connectivity in our vehicles. So there's a lot of confusion out there. What is Penske? People call us a fleet. We operate trucks. They think we have drivers. And none of those things are wrong, but there's different pieces to our business, and I'll explain a bit about that. So when we were about 2013, 14, we realized we weren't really doing enough with connectivity, and things were changing. Everything was coming down in cost as far as aftermarket telematics systems and the monthly charges and the ability to use the data from these systems. So we knew what we were doing, which was basically consulting at the time, which is something we've actually grown, not done away with. But at the time, 5 or so years ago, we were working with our customers to help them find the right solutions. And it's a valuable thing. We had 1 or 2 people working on this for a number of years. So if a customer didn't know what solution to use, at the time there were 150 or so different telematics systems, camera systems, and the like out there. They could call our team and get some ideas on different systems that might make sense for them to use. And again, it was valuable, but it was a pretty low ceiling as far as the value we were giving back to customers. So we went out and we talked to a lot of customers and a lot of internal stakeholders about just this, what we called at the time, onboard technology. So this vehicle connectivity, aftermarket systems, OEM systems that were starting to emerge. And what we learned was through that process, it was something that was highlighted to the team I was on. I was asked to lead this team to look at what our strategy should be. But I think it helped our team in talking to customers to figure out what is Penske's real stance. What should we be doing in regards to connectivity to deliver that value to our customers? And we started to think about where Penske exists in the whole trucking ecosystem. And so when we think about, we have customers that have a single truck, and they can look at that truck and they can use data off that truck, whether it's real time or not, and they can compare how that truck did this month to last month, how the driver performed this month to last month, on-time deliveries, a lot of this kind of thing. So you can use data with a single truck to analyze growth and goods and bads and pros and cons and how that truck is being operated. But most of our customers are fleets, so they have more than one truck, upwards of thousands of trucks, some of them. The vast majority of our customers are small fleets, though, because of the services we offer to small fleets is a valuable resource. But so when we think of fleets, a fleet can look at their vehicles and their drivers, and they can compare one to the other. They can compare one driver to another with MPG. They can look at how Volvos compare to Freightliners in their fleet. They can look at all types of different scenarios from one truck to the next. And then when we talked to customers, it became clear that Penske was something else. We have 330,000 trucks, but we don't operate them as if they were a single fleet. We're not putting drivers in 330,000 trucks every day and delivering freight for our customers every day. We're enabling our customers to utilize their fleets. So we came up with this idea of the fleet of fleets, and it's not to make us sound like we're the king of kings or anything like that, but our fleet is made up of thousands of fleets, tens of thousands of fleets. And the data we're getting from those trucks, again, even if it's not real time, it can be shop diagnostic data, it can be MPG data, it can be fuel tax reporting data, a lot of the data we are already getting, and we can take a lot of that and we can help fleets understand how are they performing against other like fleets. And those fleets might be in the same industry, say grocery business, one grocery hauler to another. They could be running the same type of equipment, classes, weights, type of freight. They could be running in a similar part of the country. Maybe they run at high altitude or sea level or cross country or short haul on the West Coast. So we realized that we had visibility that a lot of these fleets did not have. And so we saw that as an opportunity to take our position in the marketplace and help our customers further understand where they sit and to further help them leverage what's already on their trucks. So another important piece of our connected vehicle strategy is that a lot of the fleets at the time were connected, not nearly as many as there are now, but if we have 15,000 contract customers running our trucks on a daily basis, then a lot of those customers already had some sort of aftermarket system. And it seemed at the time, again, 5 years ago, that the bigger the fleet was, the more likely they were to have some sort of connectivity, a Geotab, a PeopleNet, whatever it was in their vehicles. And but the ELD mandate was looming, and this was something that was kind of this on again, off again until it was finally fully on. And when the ELD mandate became a real thing, we saw the number of those fleets being connected skyrocket. And you know, you can say what you want about the ELD mandate, but it has driven connectivity, and I think due in part to work that Geotab's done, we've done, the industry's done, we've really pushed fleets to see what's the value above and beyond ELD. Yeah, you can use ELD for things other than just logging hours. You can look at the data, but just having that vehicle connected adds a world of opportunities. So we knew that the trucks, a lot of the trucks in our customer fleets were connected already. So we decided, why would we go put other devices or force some specific type of device on those fleets so we can get data, knowing we can do all these great things with the data. So instead, we decided, we should build an open data platform that can take in data from any of these telematics systems. And it's nothing new. Plenty of tech companies have been doing it. Navistar had been doing it already with some of their work with On Command. But we knew that that was a way that we could help customers leverage data they were already paying for without adding additional complexity to the trucks. Start adding more telematics systems. They can interfere with each other. You don't want too much daisy chain telematics coming off of these trucks. So if we can utilize the systems that are already on the trucks, the customers are already paying for the data, we can work directly with the telematics providers and our customers and start onboarding that data into our data platform, and then we can take that data and use it for things it wasn't already being used for. So in our case, the one constant across the 330,000 vehicles is that we do maintenance on all of them. So we do 90+% of the maintenance on those 300,000+ vehicles. And one of the biggest things we heard from customers at the time was, I know there's fault codes, I know there's all this diagnostic information in my telematics system, but we can't do anything with it. We'd love for you to take that data and start to do things with it. So luckily we had a progressive maintenance team that was already thinking this way. So it made that jump from being what we consider best in class on the maintenance side of the house to think about how can we start using this data to enhance that service even more. So those are some of the thoughts that go into how we're different. Penske is different from just a fleet. And we happen to have a subsidiary of Penske Logistics, and they are a fleet. So we have a good partner on that side as far as a lot of early testing and making sure we understand what a big fleet might need. But not all fleets are 4,000 trucks like they are. So we keep a constant eye to the ground between our customer success team, which is what that 1 or 2 people consulting 5 years ago is now a 15-person team working with customers every day. But we want to know what the small, medium, large customers are all looking at and what interests them, what compels them to move into different types of technology. So hopefully that sets the stage a little bit for what Penske is and kind of our mindset when it comes to connectivity. So the question in connecting this fleet of fleets was really, how do we connect over 300,000 vehicles that are being operated by thousands of fleets? So part of that, our fleet of fleets, is a rental fleet. So that's tens of thousands of trucks, but it's not even half of that 300,000. So when we think about the rental fleet, we can put systems on those trucks. And one of the beauties of having an open data platform is we can take data from whatever system's coming with the truck out of the factory. So all we need is raw data to run a lot of the processes that we run at Penske. And so if a certain truck comes with a certain system, or we can integrate directly with an OEM, which was a little less likely back 5 years ago, but is a lot more likely now that that's happening. So in the rental fleet, we just really need data. But on the rest of the fleet, the contract fleet, so lease customers, just contract maintenance customers that aren't just renting from us every day, we wanted to test the feasibility of being able to aggregate this data across the board. And so that's what we did. We built an MVP, a minimal viable product, to take in data from a few different systems and aggregate it and look at it, at least from a normalized point of view, and see how could we use different telematics providers' data and deliver on, say, remote diagnostics, understanding what's going on with trucks remotely, or even tracking trucks and seeing where they are. And then we made sure to design for scale and continuous improvement. And the idea of MVP and this minimal viable product, meaning let's start with something small that we can really test and understand, and then let's build from there. And that's what we did. So we didn't want to boil the ocean. We wanted to start small, and then once we proved out that this could work for us, we made it bigger. And we continue to iterate on how this platform is built, how it's designed, how it operates. And we're always looking for, are there better ways to do this? And if we boil the ocean and build some big system that costs tens of millions of dollars, it's harder for us to shift. So we want to make sure we're growing as our connectivity grows and as different systems require different types of data warehousing and whatnot, and doing all this cloud computing. But we don't want to get stuck to where that's the only option we have. So we're always looking at, are there pieces to this ecosystem of connectivity that we have that we could do different ways? So it's a really healthy thing I think we're doing. It's hard. It's hard to go back and say, is my strategy right? Is it working? Where is it wrong? But you have to do it. So this idea of scale and continuous improvement, we have to be able to scale. Otherwise, it's a value to only a small portion of our customer base. And we have to continuously improve this because there's so much change going on in the amount of data flowing and figuring out new uses for the data as we move forward. And then the next question was, how do we use the data to build the right things right? And the answer really lied in how Penske thinks about our customers now. And it's really just focus on the user. And we would normally say focus on the customer, but there are internal users that can use the data that can add a ton of value to our customer base. Maintenance is a great example, and I'll get into that in a little bit with remote diagnostics and the work we've done there. But really focus on the user, and not just ask them what they need, but really think about how they operate on a daily basis. Sit with them as they're doing their work. Sit on calls while they're coming into the 24/7 roadside team, and understand what drivers are going through when they break down, or what our billing team's going through when they try and get odometer readings from different customers that have to key them in to some extranet system, when we could just be getting odometer reading directly from the truck. So focus on the user. Who's going to be using the data to help the customer, or is it going directly to the customer, and how best do they want to look at it? And then, again, this idea of setting ourselves up to continually iterate and design and functionality. And this is where we really started to focus on doing a lot of agile work. So our development, we've played with a lot of different agile methodologies, and we're starting to settle on, I would call it just the Penske version of that. And I've talked to a lot of companies, and this is kind of how it goes. You start doing agile, you try a couple different ways of doing it, you start blending those ways of doing it, and you end up with the way that works for your company. So our teams are set up. We built a whole agile development area where teams can set up in pods with designers and developers and product managers all together. They can shift around in teams as needed, and it's a really good collaborative, open space, and the methodology has allowed us to move a lot faster when it comes to understanding the needs of the user and designing the right thing for the right people, using the right data. So we don't want to just say, here's a whole bunch of data, start using it. We want to work with those customers and those users to understand what of this data set would you actually use? How would you use it? What's the most important aspects that you want to see first, et cetera. And then the third piece was, how do we help our customers leverage these technologies? And the answer was something we already had, and like I said earlier, it's something we've built on since then. It's to build an expert customer success team. And we have some of our customer success team members here today, and their job is to make sure our customers succeed with technology. So it might be doing what we did 5 years ago and consulting on different systems. Hey, I'm looking at camera systems. What can you tell me about this and that? Might be nitty-gritty details on the ELD mandate or the upcoming Canadian ELD mandate. It might be us helping our customers utilize the applications we've built. So an extranet for a fleet manager or a driver app that allows a driver to find fuel locations. This team does a lot, anything really technology related that our customers have questions about, they can go right to this team. They can go through their sales rep to this team, and it's a busy team, and we're still really refining it to make sure it feels like a consultative approach. We don't want it to feel like a call center. Certainly we'll help you figure out how to log back into your system, but we're there to help. These people can sit on the phone for an hour with a customer just talking about any of these technology topics, and it's not a kind of grinding call center kind of atmosphere. So what are we doing today with the data? So this was, say, 5 years ago, we were working on strategy. It's a big company. It takes a while to take strategy and get it to actually doing things. And then how do we start testing and then get it to a point where we're actually utilizing the data coming off these trucks? So as we're building this data pool from real-time data from telematics, what do we start doing with the data? And it's a lot of it's priorities, and a lot of it's what's the lowest hanging fruit and the biggest bang for the buck up front, the biggest value for our customers. So remote diagnostics. So I'll start there because this was something that is key to our business. Like I said, the one constant across those 330,000 vehicles is maintenance. And we consider ourselves a leader on truck maintenance, and we have over 8,000 service techs, 750 service locations just in North America. So it's a huge part of our business. And we knew before any of this work started that the more data we have up front, the more we can add value to that maintenance service. We already understood, really to go back, our trucks were all connected. All 300,000 trucks were connected 5 years ago, but they were connected 4 times a year when they came in for preventive maintenance. So we already had experience working with a lot of this data, and we knew what fault codes and different types of diagnostic information could help us figure out. So to be able to think about what we could do with it in real time was pretty staggering. And we know there's a long spectrum of what I would consider remote diagnostics that goes all the way out to predictive maintenance. And so, but we wanted, again, to start small and start with something that we could really drive value on immediately. So without having 300,000 trucks connected, what can we do with diagnostic data to help our customers? So we already have a 24/7 roadside team sitting in Pennsylvania, 24 hours around the clock. Any roadside issues, any of our customers, drivers can call that 800 number and get help with whatever's going on with their truck. And at the time, it was, I'm losing power in my vehicle. I got a flat tire. It's making this brrr noise. It was a lot, it's like those, I forget what it was, Amco or some kind of commercials where people are just making noises that their vehicles are making, because there wasn't data driving any of this. It was a driver knew there was a problem with the truck, and they were calling our hotline and experts to figure out what was wrong with it. So a lot of the people in our service center or on our 24/7 roadside center were former truck drivers, former service techs. They had a lot of knowledge about trucks, and they could work with the drivers, but it took time. Number one, we had to figure out where they were. And at the time, it was amazing how much time was being spent on the phone figuring out where a driver was that was having issues roadside. And to the point of we had some of our design team working on remote diagnostics on a call, and we had a driver that said, well, I just passed through Texas, but I'm not sure which state I'm in. And, it was that bad. And another driver was broken down and had no idea where they were. I think they knew the state, and there was like a, Paolo's Pizza down the road. So our 24/7 coordinator is Googling Paolo's Pizza in Wisconsin or wherever they were, are you here? Do you see this as well? Oh yeah, I see that as well. And these are real calls. Like, this is what this team deals with every day. And this is before they even got to what's wrong with the vehicle. This is just, where are you? Because we need to know in case we need to send out towing, service tech, whatever it is. So we knew GPS would be helpful to that team, and it would be one of the first things they needed. And then after that, there was a lot of discussion about what they saw on the dashboard. It could be odometer readings, it could be fuel level, it could be oil pressure, things that you normally see on a dashboard. So we took a lot of that data that we were getting from telematics systems and embedded that in the system so that the people on our side and our call center could see what's actually happening in that truck. They didn't have to ask some of these same questions. They could actually just verify things as opposed to asking straight out. And then, so we made sure to add that to the dashboard. And then the big key was fault codes. And at the time, and still is the case, you can toggle through a digital dashboard on a truck and you can find fault codes. But every make, model, year is a little bit different. So our 24/7 coordinators would pull out, PDFs on what you're in a 2010 Volvo. Okay, here's how you toggle through to give me the fault codes. So all of these things I'm talking about were possible, but it all took time, a lot of time on the phone. And maintenance for us is all about uptime and maximizing uptime. So we want zero downtime, 100% uptime as far as the truck is available. And anything we can do on that call, if we can take a 15-minute call and make it a 2-minute call, that's a huge improvement. That's 13 minutes off of that downtime piece to understand what's actually going on with the vehicle. So we built a single screen, basically, that our 24/7 team can utilize. So when a driver calls in with an issue, they can give a unit number to our call center, and the call center will look up in their AS400 green screen, which is what they use for most everything every day, and it's incredibly fast. But on that green screen, it'll say, this truck's in the connected vehicle platform. And then they can switch over to that and get all of this real-time data from that vehicle. So they can get GPS location from the telematics system. They can get the dashboard information. They can get fault codes to understand what's going on with the vehicle. And they get interpretations from the engine OEM all built into that single screen, so they can help that customer figure out what's next. They can create an action plan. They can get a tow truck out there. They can get a part out there, a service tech out there. They can tell the driver it's actually fine for another 3 hours. Keep driving and deliver your freight, and then get it to a Penske shop on the other side. So it's really a reactive use of that data, but it's hugely valuable. And our team has seen so much value in having that data and being able to help customers very quickly compared to the way it used to be. Now, what we're working on now is getting more proactive with it. So how do we take the alerts that are coming off these vehicles in the form of engine diagnostic trouble codes, and how do we understand that there is going to be an issue with a truck? A driver hasn't called in about it yet, but we know something's happening. And there, it's not as much a technology problem as it is a communication thing, where who do we call? Who do we call when a UPS truck is having an issue? It's a pretty big fleet, and you can't just call some 800 number at UPS to figure it out. So we have to build that communication tree to understand who at these different customers of ours we should be talking to about issues. And then the other piece we're working on is predictive maintenance. And there's a lot of work between our maintenance team and IT team doing a lot of machine learning and tying in a lot of the historical maintenance information we have with a lot of the real-time and shop diagnostic information we have to figure out what leads to what and how can we get ahead of breakdowns. So it's a continuum of reacting to issues with trucks in real time all the way up to getting ahead of breakdowns before they happen or even show symptoms of happening, and then everything in between. And you'll always need all of it. So you'll always need to be able to react. Trucks are always going to break down. Unexpectedly, it's always going to happen. And less and less, hopefully, as we get better and better with the data and more proactive about the use of it. But you're still going to have breakdowns. So we need that whole continuum. It's not like we can throw it all out once we have predictive. If to fuel tax reporting, a boring one, but nonetheless, it's a compliance one. And so we have a team, Fleet Services at Penske, and a lot of what they do is process fuel tax payments for our customers. So Penske, basically, if you wanted to lease a truck, you could go to a bank and get the money, and you could lease a truck. But everything Penske does is really all the services wrapped around it. So it's maintenance, it's things like if to fuel tax reporting. It's things that allow small to mid-sized fleets to operate their businesses of delivering pizza or shoes or cabbage or whatever it is, and not worry as much about all the nuance of running the truck itself. They can put a driver in the truck, drive it, and we support everything around that vehicle. So if to fuel tax reporting for rental, so we have our rental fleet connected, we can automate the miles driven in each state that are required for if to fuel tax reporting, and then lease and contract maintenance. So again, whatever system those fleets are using, we can integrate with their provider to bring the data in and do the fuel tax reporting accurately and as automated as possible. DVIR integration. So again, maintenance, huge part of our business. We aren't a DVIR provider, and we don't want to be, but every driver has to do a pre and post trip inspection, and any defects that would take that truck off the road have to be fixed before that truck can go back on the road. So what we've set up is a way to integrate directly with the DVIR system. Geotab, we just worked on for the last year or so to get dialed in, and it's up and running. And so the way it works is when a driver puts a defect in their DVIR, that defect comes through directly to our service system that we use in our shops and notifies the shop. When the truck comes in and the repair is fixed, and when we close that repair order, it automatically goes back to Geotab and closes that defect. So it's a full closed loop. It's all documented. It'll show which service tech did it, but the service tech doesn't need to log into Geotab. They don't need to log into any kind of system other than our own service system. So defect comes to us, and we clear out the defect automatically. Driver gets back into the truck when it's fixed. They can say, yes, it has been fixed, and on with their day. So it's a way to automate the DVIR process as much as possible without the truck fixing itself. And it's a way to make sure everything's documented for regulatory purposes. Stolen vehicle recovery. Talk about low-hanging fruit. I was shocked to find out how many rental trucks get stolen. And they may steal the truck to use the truck. They may rent it under an assumed name and never return it. They may rent the truck, rip the reefers out, and the refrigerated units for non-trucking people. They may take any valuable component off of it, put it in shipping containers, and ship it overseas. And we find them in shops and warehouses, all torn apart. So we have a security team, a physical security team, mostly staffed by ex-FBI station chiefs and police chiefs that chase these people down. We also have trucks that get used for the wrong reasons, which is always a big issue with trucking. And we always have to think about security and vetting drivers when they pick up trucks and understanding our customers and where our vehicles are. So the stolen vehicle recovery thing is huge. In the last 2.5 years, with the help of telematics, we've recovered over $50 million worth of stolen vehicles. And not to say we wouldn't have found them, but we wouldn't have found them before the freight were stolen out of the back, reefers were ripped out, decals were taken off the trucks. We find these trucks immediately. And so as soon as they get reported to our team can utilize the data coming off the trucks to find the truck. And it's more of an issue with rental vehicles. Our contract customers operate their own vehicles otherwise. So, odometer readings. I'd say half the departments at Penske could use odometer reading for something. And maintenance is a big one, and especially on the PM scheduling. So preventive maintenance has to be done. It's normally done 4 times a year, but understanding when those vehicles need to be PM'd is a big deal. Why bring it in if it hasn't accrued enough miles to require a PM? So by getting odometer reading, we can simply run our PM scheduling off of odometer, engine hours, time, whatever it is, and we can be utilizing this data just for that scheduling purpose. Billing, we rent and lease trucks. We do a lot of billing based on mileage. Without real-time access to odometer reading, we're doing a lot of guessing and what we would call algorithms, but it's still a guess. So it's how many miles did that truck drive last month, bill you for the same this month. It's going to be way off. And there's going to be a plus or minus at the end of the month. If we have access to real-time odometer, that goes away. We can bill based on true odometer. And giving customers access to tracking information for vehicles they have rented with Penske. So customer has a system on their fleet, and they can use their Geotab system to track their vehicles, communicate with drivers, everything they need to do. Then they rent a truck with Penske, and that truck all of a sudden is not in that system. And they could be using any system, Geotab, any of the probably what is now 300 to 400 systems thanks to ELD. And they get into a rental vehicle and they don't have visibility to the vehicle. So with the data, we can pump that back through the systems they're using to operate their Penske fleet anyway and show them where those vehicles are. What vehicles are out on rent with you right now and where are they? So Geotab is integrated across the board. So all of these bullet points, everything we're doing with data today includes Geotab. And so yesterday, when on stage they were talking about the pillars of innovation, I thought it was really interesting. So I added where some of these pillars fit into the work we're doing. And this expandability is huge for us as far as what Geotab enables us to do with the data. So being able to access real-time data from Geotab and bring it into our system is a huge piece of our whole strategy. Productivity, just the ability to use this data and be more productive, whether it's locating vehicles or whatever the case might be. Productivity is greatly increased from the use of this real-time data in our systems. And compliance. So the DVIR and IFTA fuel tax reporting are compliance-based. So again, Geotab has been a main contributor throughout the life cycle of this early stage of our build-up and strategy and connected vehicle program. And so just to kind of go through some of those pieces, the relationship began before we even started really looking at what should we be doing as a full enterprise across the board with data. Our maintenance team was working with Frank and Assured Telematics and Geotab and Navistar to look at how Geotab could be used on our trucks from a maintenance perspective. And we ran some pilots and things like that back then. So that was probably 2012, 2013, before we really even got into the strategy piece of this. So that relationship began then. And then Geotab was one of the initial data providers for our data platform prototypes. So we had been doing some maintenance piloting and whatnot with Geotab, so we had some trucks connected. So that immediately became part of this, can we use aggregated data from different systems, pull it into a centralized place, and do normalized data use type of things with it, like remote diagnostics. Due to that solid performance, it became one of the leaders when we went to retrofit the entire rental fleet. So we did a massive retrofit of the rental fleet to get it connected based on this strategy of, I think, somewhere around 40,000 total trucks. And we did it within a few months using our own shop technicians doing these installs when trucks would come through for PMs. So in a quarter of a year or so, we connected essentially the entire rental fleet, at least anything diesel power that was being used for a lot of B2B work. So Geotab was a major component and provider for that retrofit. And I'd say Geotab sets the bar and on the data quality, and I call it thoughtfulness. It's really the data strategy Geotab has. And is everything always in there? No, but we can work with, like DVIR, we can work with the Geotab team and our reseller at Assured Telematics to get that data in. And the thoughtfulness that goes into what Geotab's done, I think, is right at the very top. And it just is it really is an expandable data set that allows us to do a lot with the data we're getting directly from these systems. And the more we work with it, the more we understand it. And for instance, you don't just get GPS from Geotab. You get GPS that's coming off of 6+ different satellites. So it's a definite GPS signal. It's not a single satellite coming through to say the truck might be here. It's 6 satellites cross-referencing to make sure, or more, to make sure that vehicle is where they say it is. So when I say thoughtfulness, it's just there's been so much thought and effort and strategy put into the way Geotab delivers data that it's been a big success for us. And Assured Telematics. Frank's here. I promised he wouldn't have to say anything, so he won't. But they have been huge. And you know, I think the idea of a reseller is different for us at Penske. Whether we buy trucks usually directly from manufacturers. We work directly with other telematics providers. But we get such great service from Assured Telematics. And I think it says a lot about the reseller program. And it brings a lot of big value to our customers. So if we have customers that end up using Geotab, they can work with our reseller, other resellers to just get that good customer service, which is frankly lackluster in the telematics industry. I think they're second to none when it comes to servicing customers. And the other piece is integration side. So the DVIR piece is really interesting. There was work that had to be done by Geotab from an engineering standpoint, but there was also work that had to be done by our reseller. So Assured did some of the work. It was kind of a 3-way integration development process where Geotab did work, Assured Telematics did work, and Penske did work on our systems to make this whole back and forth of defect comes through, defect goes back, defect clears out a system. So not only are they a customer service benefit, but also on the development side, they've been huge. So thank you to Assured Telematics. I think it's been a really good relationship that I see continuing for a long time. So I'm going to kind of finish with where is connectivity taking us and talk to you a little bit about our EV program and what's coming with AVs as well. So electric vehicles have become a big thing for Penske, and it's not a lot of trucks out there. There's not a lot of availability out there, but we're putting a ton of effort into making sure we're successful with the trucks we are deploying. So I'd say March of 2018, Daimler Trucks North America approached us and said they were going to build a small test fleet of vehicles of electric vehicles to run in the United States. and they wanted us to take 20 of the 30 vehicles that they were going to build. So these were pre-production, prototype-type vehicles, and they were going to build 10 straight trucks and 20 tractors. So we got, or are still getting, all of the straight trucks and half of the tractors. And the idea is we'll work with Daimler as they engineer and build these trucks to work to co-create with them. So we work with Daimler and work on turning radiuses, weights, ranges. We talk about the true use cases of these vehicles, and then we deploy these trucks with our customers. So part of it is trucks, part of it is charging infrastructure, but it's all new to all of us. And the team at Daimler was less than 15 people when we started working with them, and I don't even know how big that team is now, but it's taken on a whole big growth piece for Daimler, and so they are 100, 200 people now working on this program, and it's a very serious thing. We are deploying trucks with our customers, and we're utilizing people from across our enterprise. I work as sort of a program manager on it. We've got our fuel and facilities team working on infrastructure for charging and housing the vehicles. We work with our maintenance team because maintenance, although everyone says maintenance will be less on electric vehicles, it's certainly going to be different. So it's not a more dangerous vehicle, but it's a different type of danger when you go to work with a high voltage system. And these are high voltage systems. These are 500, 600, 700 kilowatt battery packs, which is a lot of Chevy Bolts. And it's different types of charging requirements. So we have to look across the board and utilize a lot of our resources to deploy these vehicles. And we announced in early December that the first 2 tractors, so these are Class 8 tractor trailers doing regional distribution in Southern California, surpassed 10,000 miles. So they're doing nightly deliveries to a fast food chain store, and they're doing between 8 and 12 deliveries every night, running anywhere from 130 to 250 miles every night to do this route in Southern California. And they surpassed 10,000 miles, like pulling real freight on real routes. So it's been a really exciting program so far. But they're not just vehicles. And this is why it takes so many people. Electric vehicles, it's not just a new propulsion system. It's the whole infrastructure of charging that doesn't exist. Yeah, electricity exists, but good luck charging a 80,000-pound truck battery with something that just exists. So it took a lot more than just taking on a new truck and deploying it with customers. We had to put in the charging infrastructure, so we've been installing charging infrastructure in Southern California. Here in San Diego, there's some, and then there's a bunch of locations in the LA basin where we're going to be operating these 20-plus trucks. So we'll be operating the 20 Daimler trucks, plus other brands that come out with vehicles can charge at those same locations. So it's a lot more than just another vehicle, again, on the maintenance side as well. So we needed a way to monitor the vehicles, and not just the vehicles, but the charging itself, and just basically the entire EV program. So about a year and a half ago, when we were up visiting with Geotab, and Matt Stevens was there, and it was really fresh off the Geotab acquisition of Fleet Karma, started talking to Matt and understood that what they were doing was completely focused on EV. So we decided, let's put Fleet Karma in these initial 20 trucks. So we not only get the tracking and the basic telematics information, but we also get the EV expertise and someone who can support us from an EV standpoint to understand what the vehicles are actually doing, state of charge and battery health, and a lot of these types of things. So then Fleet Karma becomes Geotab. We did a couple installs on some of the first trucks with Fleet Karma, and then before that, even as that was taking place, all of the Fleet Karma benefits on the EV side were put into the Geotab Go device. So now we can just use the Go device in those vehicles and get that same sort of learning. And so the learning truly has just begun. The vehicles started coming in through this last year. We've started to integrate the Go device into these trucks. We're using these systems. Daimler's looking at these systems. We're comparing it to the data we're getting from the charging infrastructure itself. So we're really starting to figure out how do we utilize this data. And it is truly just begun. And I think 2020 will be the year of insights from the deployments we've begun to make with this electric vehicle fleet. And then automated vehicles. So much earlier than the EV side, if you can say that. It's, there's still a lot of activity out there, a lot of buzz with autonomous vehicles. But with new technologies, we have to ask, how will AVs impact our customers? And so when we think about what Penske is, going back to we're a maintenance provider, a truck, whether it drives itself or is driven by a human, is still going to break down. And it's still going to have to be maintained. So if eventually a truck shows up at a location to get service, we're going to need to know what that service is. So our whole connectivity program is going to help us be ready for AVs when they truly are deployed. And maybe it's not driverless fully, but it's a driver or engineer in the vehicle, or someone that's just loading and unloading when the truck gets to destinations. They may not know as much about trucks. So even if it's not fully driverless, I think we'll still get huge benefit from all the connectivity work we're doing now and the insights we gain leading up to the availability of AVs. So how can we begin to prepare ourselves? We joined PAVE, which is the Partners for Automated Vehicle Education. We wanted to make sure that trucking had a voice. It's a group of a lot of car OEMs and charging companies and the like, and other automated LiDAR systems and whatnot. So we wanted to make sure trucking wasn't forgotten. We see trucking as possibly some of the earliest AV deployments. Highway miles, no pedestrians, no stop signs, traffic lights. It makes a lot of sense. So we want to make sure we're part of that. And we're getting ready to announce some awards we've been given in conjunction with a major research university with US DOT grants to build a maintenance program around automated trucking. So that's something that will be coming up. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we can start talking about that. So we're really trying to position ourselves to just understand the technology, work with the companies, the startups that are producing it, understand what the OEMs are doing, the traditional OEMs, the Freightliners, Volvos, PACCARs, whatnot, are doing from their side, and make sure we understand the technology. So I think it's something we always look at is what responsibilities do we all have in these new technologies? How do we make them successful as an industry? Penske can do our part, but there's a lot that has to happen on the OEM side, the startup side, the regulatory side, customer side, the way these vehicles are being used. So I'll add the sustainability button to this one as well. So 4 out of the 6 I think we covered in this presentation. So I just want to put out there that we want to grow with you, with customers of Geotabs, of resellers, and everyone involved in this room. And there's quick ways for that to happen. If you're a Penske customer and you use Geotab, let's get your data flowing into our systems. This connected fleet at Penske.com is our customer success team, and they can answer any of your questions on that front. If you're doing the mobile app game thing, here's the code. I'm not sure what that is, but I had to put it in my slides, so it must be important. So, okay, I'll switch over to Q&A.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, round of applause.